I didn't think I'd ever share this story, but I'm hoping it will help other people like me and keep them from making the same mistake I did. It started last winter, 3 weeks before Christmas. I knew my family was going to pester me again about my dating life when I came home from the holidays. It felt like it had become somewhat of a family tradition. Most of my siblings were married and had kids. That wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that I was the oldest. My roommates convinced me to download an app called Tinder and helped me set up my profile. I've never been a very social person. I can carry on a conversation, but I'm not the type of guy to start one. We spent a lot of time looking through profiles and deciding whether or not to swipe right. The best way to describe myself would be a stereotypical nerd. I mean, I looked the part, so why not just accept it into my life? I played sports occasionally, went to the gym when my friends were going, but none of that changed my appearance. I was a genuine nerd. I spent most nights playing games with my online friends. I didn't want to pretend I was anything other than what I was. I only had honest pictures of myself and didn't swipe right on anyone I thought was out of my league or wouldn't have similar interests. I matched with a girl I had been particularly interested in and we started chatting. Her name was Kathy. With the help of my roommates, I quickly made myself look stupid. She thought it was funny, and I decided to be honest and explain the situation. This was my first time on Tinder. I've never been on a date with someone that I had met online, and that my roommates were looking over my shoulder and reading this whole conversation. We joked around for a little bit, and she ended up asking for my cell phone number. I didn't even hesitate. We spent the rest of the night texting. It was really easy to talk to her, and I found that we had a lot of the same interests. I asked her if she was free the following night and if she would like to grab some dinner. She quickly accepted the offer and recommended a Chinese restaurant that was near her. I felt like a kid on Christmas Eve. I couldn't sleep. Our conversation had ended because she had an early shift in the morning, but I kept reading through our conversation. Yeah, I know that makes me sound really weird, but girls don't usually like me, and somehow this was going surprisingly well. The next day dragged on, but when it finally got close to dinner time, I rushed home to get ready. My roommates followed me around the apartment as I got dressed and kept giving me unsolicited advice, most of which was utter nonsense. I knew that they just wanted to help, but none of them had ever been in a long-term relationship, and I never liked any of the girls they dated. I accepted their advice and immediately deleted it from my memory. I got in my car and drove a few miles to the restaurant. I was really excited to meet her and really nervous at the same time. I pulled up and the restaurant was fairly empty. I texted Kathy that I would save us a table and to meet me inside. She said that'd be great and that she was almost there. I got a table for two, ordered us some water and a few appetizers, and kept my eye on the door waiting for her to come through. I squeezed my hands into fists to stop them from shaking. A few minutes went by and there was no sign of her. I figured she was running late, but constantly checked my phone hoping for an update. A half hour passed and I finally got a message from Kathy. She apologized and said that she wouldn't be able to make it after all. She had a family emergency come up and hoped I could forgive her. She asked if we could do dinner another time. I told her not to worry about it and asked if everything was alright and if there was anything I could do. No response. I felt defeated, all the excitement just deflated from my body. I sat there and picked at the appetizers, feeling stupid and wondering what I had done wrong. Maybe she had seen me through the window and decided I wasn't worth it. Maybe she'd found someone else she liked more and didn't want to lead me on. I didn't even bother ordering for an entree and just asked for the check. The waitress could tell what happened and told me that whoever would do that to me wasn't worth my time. She gave me an unexpected discount, and I left her a large tip, more than what the discount was, and headed out the door. On the drive home, I tried to hold back tears. I felt so stupid for wanting to cry. I mean, I didn't even know this girl. I hadn't even met her in real life. I had barely been messaging her for more than one day. I got home and my roommate asked me how it went. I gave him the details and they all began sharing similar stories that had happened to them. I guess I wasn't the only one to have experienced this type of rejection. I was able to escape into my room and uninstalled Tinder. I wasn't going to risk having another experience like that again. It was easier just to ask people in person. My night was completely ruined. I didn't even feel like gaming. I just sat on my bed and stared at the walls. I checked my phone and saw that I had a few messages from Kathy. I was about to delete them, but gave in to my curiosity. She apologized multiple times, saying that she really did want to have dinner and asked if we could go tomorrow. I could even pick her up from her place so that we could go together. I told her I would think about it and went to bed. The next morning I woke up and saw that Kathy had sent me a few more messages. She begged me to take her to dinner and said that she felt horrible for what she had done. She explained what happened last night. I guess she had to go and watch her siblings because her dad had an emergency come up at work and had to go in. Her mother had passed away years ago, so it was just her dad and siblings who were at home. He couldn't find anyone to watch them last minute, so he gave her a call while she was on the way to the restaurant. I gave her the benefit of the doubt and gave it another shot. I told her that I was going to go to dinner that evening. We joked around for a little and ended up texting each other for the rest of the day. By the time dinner rolled around, I got excited again. I was more reserved this time because of what happened, but after a long day of texting, I was ready to meet her. I followed the address to a small apartment complex a few streets away. I knocked on the door and heard someone approaching. An awkward guy around my age opened the door and asked if I was here to see Kathy. I told him that I was, and he invited me inside. He led me to the living room where I sat down on the couch. I figured it was just a roommate and waited for my first meeting with the girl I had been talking to for 2 days now. My hands were shaking again. I heard the guy yell down that she was still getting ready and just to wait down here for a few minutes. Finally, I heard someone coming down the stairs and the guy walked into the living room and sat down. I didn't notice at first, but he had changed his outfit. He was wearing really tight jeans and a woman's t-shirt. I wasn't sure what was going on, but shrugged it off. It's not my place to judge how other people dress. He sat there quietly and we would awkwardly exchange glances every so often. It was taking forever, and I asked if I could go up there and talk to her while she was getting ready. He told me that wasn't possible. I was confused and asked why I couldn't go see her. He started acting weird and then asked me what I thought about Kathy. I told him the truth. Kathy and I were really hitting it off, and she was the first girl I had met who was easy for me to talk to. He looked at me and smiled. He told me not to freak out and that he was Kathy. I wasn't sure how to react, so I just started laughing. I thought it was some dumb joke, but he didn't join in with me. I looked around the room as if he was kidding. He shook his head. He told me that no one else lived in the apartment and that he had been the one I was texting the past 2 days. I was rightfully angry with him and asked him why he'd pull a stupid prank like that on me. I got up to leave, but he stood in front of the doorway blocking me. He wasn't threatening me at all. He had a sad look on his face and told me that I needed to give him a chance and that he really liked me. I let him know that I wasn't okay with this situation. I told him that he was an idiot for using a fake profile on Tinder. Being gay wasn't a crime, and there were apps like Tinder that he could use to find other gay guys to date. I pushed myself past him and hastily walked to my car. I got home and my roommates asked me how it went. I told them that Kathy and I didn't really hit it off in person, which was technically true. I didn't want to tell them the real story of what had happened. I felt like it was just too weird to share. I blocked his number and thought I would never hear from him again. It turns out I was wrong. A few days went by without anything out of the ordinary happening, but one morning I woke up and saw that my email had been flooded with messages from Kathy. I realized I didn't even know this guy's real name. I felt strange calling him Kathy now. I had no idea how he'd gotten my university email. It wasn't one of the generic first and last name email systems. It was my student number, which wasn't something you can just go online and figure out. Most of the messages were the same. He asked me to forgive him and begged me to give him another chance. He told me he just wanted to be friends and kept apologizing over and over again. I actually felt bad for this guy, but I had no intentions of being his friend. I read all the messages he sent, but never responded to them. I was hoping he'd just forget about it and move on to the next person. This continued for the entire week. I would wake up to a couple dozen emails, but knew if I responded that it would only get worse. One night while I was gaming, I got a text message from a random number. It was just a simple greeting asking how I was doing. I didn't think anything of it and responded asking if I knew them. Maybe one of my friends got a new phone or something. It wasn't that weird at the time. The next message asked if I was still on my game. At this point, I thought it was one of my online friends and I said I was playing some ranked. I didn't even realize at the time that he never answered my first question. He said he was starting a new account and to add him. I added his new account after my game and went on to keep playing. A few more days went by without any messages from Kathy. However, every once in a while, this guy would play with my friends and me. We were all leveling new accounts together. He always had some excuse as to why he couldn't talk on Discord, which for all of you who don't know is just a voice client like Skype where you can go and talk to your friends in real time. But like I said, at the time, none of this seemed weird. I had long since stopped hearing from Kathy. One night I got a text from the same random number. He said that he had had fun gaming and that we should hang out sometime. I had to look through the message history to realize who this was. I asked who he was again, realizing that he had never answered the first time. He sent back that it was Kathy. My heart dropped. I was officially creeped out. This guy had gotten a new number to text me from and had tricked me into playing with him. I told him to stop messaging me and blocked his number. That whole day I was receiving emails from this guy. He asked me why I blocked him. He kept telling me how much fun he had gaming with my friends and me, and how he didn't want to stop. Then his messages started to get creepy. He started talking about how funny I was, how good I was at the game, and moved on to talking about how sexy my voice was and how I should move in with him and be his roommate. I should have stopped reading his emails. I knew I could have blocked this guy on my email too, but it felt like this way I could at least keep tabs on him. If he would go as far as to buy a new phone, I had no idea what else he would do. When I got home, I had a few things to do, but I thought I would log in and talk to my friends while I was doing them. I usually do this, but today when I logged in, I saw that Kathy had sent dozens of messages to my in-game account and my Discord client. I blocked him on everything and changed my privacy settings on all my social media accounts just in case. I explained the situation to my friends who he had played with online and told them to block him. I was wary of anyone I didn't recognize who sent me a text message, friend request, or email. I couldn't live like this. I finally broke down and sent Kathy an email telling him that if he didn't stop harassing me, that the cops were going to get involved. It was an empty threat because I didn't even know how I would explain this to the cops. It wasn't like he was threatening me. Luckily, it had worked, but only for a while. It had been close to a month before I heard from Kathy again. This time, Kathy took a different approach. He sent me an email and told me that he couldn't live without talking to me. At this point, I just started laughing. I mean, I could barely believe this guy was seriously messaging me again. He was absolutely crazy. But then it started to get twisted. He would tell me that if I didn't respond, he would start hurting himself. I thought it was just a bluff and went on with my normal life. If emailing me made him happy, I would let him keep doing it. As long as he didn't try anything beyond email, I was fine to keep it contained to this. He started sending me pictures of a knife he held to someone's wrist, which I assumed was his own. He told me he would start cutting himself if I didn't respond. It was a bit freaky, but anyone can find pictures like that with a simple Google search, so I just shrugged it off. Then he started sending pictures of the aftermath. His wrist had been cut and bloodied, not the kind of slices that would kill you, but you get the point. He would send videos of himself crying and begging to talk to me. At this point, there was no way in hell I was responding to this guy. I knew for a fact that if I did, things would escalate more than if I remained silent. A week went by, and I would get daily emails telling me what he was going to do to himself and then send the pictures after he had done them. One day he sent a picture of a bottle of pills saying that if I kept ignoring him, that he would take them and I wouldn't have to worry about hearing from him ever again. That if that's what I really wanted, to keep ignoring him. I'm not gonna lie, I actually thought about letting him do it. If he was serious, then he would finally stop bothering me. I didn't have it in me though. I finally brought it up to my roommates and asked for their advice on what I should do. It was a crazy discussion, but we decided that since I had both of his numbers and the address of his apartment, that I needed to get the police involved. I couldn't just let this guy kill himself. We agreed that he was crazy enough to actually do it. Maybe not with me, but he had to be doing this thing with other people too, and something might happen one day that would push him over the edge. I finally sent him an email. I told him that I was saving all the emails he sent me and that he shouldn't joke about that stuff. I said that if he was serious, then he should call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline or visit their website. I let him know that I would be getting the cops involved. He instantly responded, telling me how he wouldn't kill himself and to not get the cops involved. He said that he was just depressed, but that he wasn't serious. It was a shift in his usual tone, so I thought that maybe the act was up and he was done. After a long period of time went by, then he started emailing me again. It started out innocently, apologizing for lying to me and asking me if we could be friends again. Of course, it couldn't stop there, and had to get weirder. One day he started emailing me pictures of my car in the campus parking lot and of me walking to my classes. This happened the whole day, and he kept saying that we were so close that we should just hang out. He just wanted to talk to me. I kept looking around as I walked in between classes, hoping that I could see him, that I could comfort him, but I could never find him. That night he sent me a picture of my roommates and I sitting in our living room. He had followed me home. That was the final straw. It had gone way too far. Creepy emails are one thing, but actually following me around and taking pictures of me was on a whole different level. I got the local law enforcement involved and went as far to get a restraining order. It took me this long to get a restraining order to learn that his real name was Chester. It's been months and I've stopped receiving emails from him, but every once in a while, I get weird texts from a random number, a strange email from an unknown email address, or friend requests from online people I don't recognize. I'm not sure if any of these are from Chester, and I can't prove that they are. This experience has caused me to become extremely paranoid. All of this happened because I swiped right on a girl that I was interested in on Tinder. I'm not sure if Chester had any other victims, but if he did, I hope he learned a lesson. I know I sure did.